There we go. Greetings. All right. I think that's everybody we're going to have. So we can.
Okay. So in that case, I'll start. I'll call the meeting to order. And Scott, if you can do the roll call first.
Love to. David?
I'm here.
Tracy?
Here.
Ben?
Here.
Tammy? Lindsay?
Here.
Erica? Peg? Jim? I'm here. Myself, Scott, and Sarah.
I'm here.
And I wonder, just because we've got some new faces on the commission, if we just take 1 minute just for everybody just to sort of go around and introduce themselves. It doesn't have to be sort of long, but I think that would be useful. And so I am David Addison, and I'm on the Webster Groves School Board. And so the school board proposes a member every year to be on this commission, and they have proposed to me, and then I am approved. So I'm a member of the commission because I'm appointed by council, but at sort of the recommendation of the Board of Education.
I'm Scott Davis. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director and the staff liaison to your commission.
Thank you. Tracy?
Tracy Downing. I am brand new to this.
It is hard to hear you, Tracy.
Can you hear me now? Is it better? No?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Maladjusted. Tracy Downing. I'm brand new to the commission. This is my first meeting. Welcome.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Peg? You are muted. You have to unmute yourself.
In the lower left corner.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
You're
All
no
right,
longer muted.
So now I'm unmuted. Okay.
Yes.
So I am Peg Peterson. I am fairly new to the Parks and Rec Commission because there haven't been very many meetings since I got appointed. And I have lived in Webster forever, and I'm excited to be here.
Welcome. Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Michad. I'm a lifelong resident of Webster. I also have 2 young boys attending grade school at Bristol Elementary, and dog owner, mom, and housewife.
Great. Erica? And you're also muted.
Okay,
There
hi,
you go.
Erica Morrison. I also grew up in Webster, moved away for about 10 years, but then came back with my husband, and we are raising our boys here. We also have 2 young boys in elementary school at Avery Elementary. And I've been on the Parks and Commission board for a few years now. I'm not sure how many.
And Tammy, I see you just joined. Do you want to just introduce yourself quickly?
I'm Tammy Hoyt. This is my 2nd year on the board. I'm a mental health therapist here in Webster. My daughter's a synchronized ice skater. And so what happens in Webster is important and multiple fronts because I work, live, and have a daughter who's very much involved in the sports recreation center. So
Great, thank you. And Sarah, I'm leaving you last for a reason, obviously. Ben?
Like Ben Eckler, like Tracy, this is my first meeting on the Parks and Rec board as well. I've lived in Webster Groves for about 5 years, and I also have 2 young boys, 6 and 3, that go to Edgar Road School.
Great. And Sarah?
Hi, this is my first meeting as a city council person, but I was just recently elected to Webster Grove City Council during these COVID times, and I'm excited to join you all as your new council liaison. I've been living in Webster for about 12 years. I also have 2 boys, one at Edgar Road and one who would be at Seeger if they were in a place, but both are here, so at my house. Yeah, I'm excited to be part of this. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. And yeah, so just for anybody who joined late, so I will apologize in advance. I need to leave at 7. I have a Board of Education meeting to go to. So first, I'll entertain a motion to approve the February 2020 minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at those?
Yes.
I have a quick question, David.
Yes,
Are we
please.
allowed to vote on those if we were not a member of the board at that point? If we weren't at that meeting, can we approve those minutes?
You could probably abstain if you, that might be the easier action to take.
I just didn't know if there was a protocol we needed to follow.
Probably abstain. Otherwise, if you vote just no, we won't have enough older members to pass the vote.
Yeah. So yes, as Scott says, yes. So an abstention counts as that. Then we meet our number present and voting. But yeah, if you choose to abstain, that's probably the best action. So with that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to approve the February 2020 minutes.
I move to approve the 2020 minutes. Peg.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? And any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay, Tracy and Ben abstain. Thank you very much. Next, we have time for visitor comments. I don't know if we have any, but I see one thing saying Webster Groves. I don't know who that is, if that is a visitor.
That's just the business account. So we have no attendees on that aren't on the panel, and I received no pre-submitted comments.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Staff reports.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Ben, do you have a question?
Yeah, I see Steve is on attendees. I don't know if.
He's our IT manager.
Oh,
so
okay. Perfect.
Running all the background stuff.
Got it. Just wanted to check. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Staff reports.
All right. Buckle in. It's been a little while. We'll start with COVID. How about that? So out in the parks, we usually start with the parks report. Parks have been impacted quite a bit by the pandemic, obviously, as everybody has. Since March, many of our parts of our parks have had to close due to orders from St. Louis County Health. We've been able to reopen almost all the facilities that we have other than playgrounds. Right now, playgrounds are still shut by county order. I am in the process of applying to county to get a special exemption to be able to reopen those playgrounds. There are several other municipalities that have finished that process or are in that process right now. So I think we'll see most of the playgrounds in the St. Louis area reopening under these special exemptions. We have to do some additional disinfection of them. We have to do some additional signage of them, of the playground, to let people know that they're kind of using them on their own risk, because we can't guarantee that they've been clean since the last person was on them, blah, blah, blah. So hopefully I'll get that exemption from county within the next week or so that we can get those open and the kids can get out there and start playing on the playground again. I think people will really love that.
Do you think there will be hand sanitizer? I know the one time they did put it out and kids, like, there was a fire that started at one place where they rubbed the hand sanitizer on the playground and lit it on fire. So that was why I was kind of wondering, do you think they'll provide that, or do people just bring it themselves?
Bring it yourselves. We provided that. I can't sort that
doing.
right.
They're bringing it themselves. The signage is up. Like you said, like, I didn't know they had to apply for that exemption, but I know that's what they're doing. And they're just saying, we're cleaning twice a week. And if you want to play and your kids, please, I think also maybe adding to the sign, not eating on the playground while you're playing. It's just probably a good practice for people that might not be thinking about that, because that would just add to putting hands in mouth.
Right.
I just know a few people had reached out to me with concerns about the playground, and that was some of their suggestions.
Thank you. I'll take that under advisement.
Any other comments about that?
On the signage, are we going to be requesting social distancing or masking?
It does, as part of the special exemption, we have to limit the number of users that can use that playground, so that there is a social distancing component in that. There'll be a maximum number of users on that signage. Obviously, I'm not going to have a patrol officer there standing and counting everybody, but it will say that, you know, maximum usage is 17 participants or something like that. Hopefully people will self-police themselves a little bit on that so that we don't have 40 kids playing on one playground at a time. And it will say, I believe they say you should wear a mask, but it's not mandated since it is outdoors, and it can be physical exerting playing on those.
Okay.
So, Scott, how many, have you had any requests from parents or kids or people who want to play on the playgrounds? I mean, have you had a lot of feedback from people?
I've had probably over 30 or 40 people
Okay.
that want them open. They want to be able to make their own decisions regarding their family's safety, and they feel like we're not going to go to the playground if we see that it's really busy, but when we're walking by and no one's on it, we don't want to have to tell our 4-year-old who's screaming and having a fit that she can't do it when we feel like it's safe. We're going to sanitize her hands afterwards. Why can't we do it? We're going over to Kirkwood instead of just being able to use our own parks.
Okay, good feedback. What about the bathrooms? Are they open?
The restrooms are open. They have been for a while.
Okay.
At Blackburn, they were open.
Yep.
For softball, at least.
And how is the Camp Weebie going? Is that doing well or?
No, I'll get there if you let me run through my notes.
That's fine.
Keep on there. So playgrounds, hopefully we'll get those open here in the next week or two, is my goal. Staffing issues related to COVID out in parks. So far, I've been pretty fortunate to be able to work through those. Like most businesses, we've had a few people coming and going while they were underneath various forms of quarantines. But we haven't seen a big impact to services for our residents because of that. We've been able to manage that pretty well, which is great because we've had probably a higher usage in parks on a lot of aspects than we do on a normal basis. More people walking and things like that for exercise out in the parks. Field usage and obviously playground usage and some of that stuff is down, but the parks are being pretty heavily used right now. Tennis court project started in May, should have finished in mid-July, still not finished. Unfortunately, I don't know when it's gonna finish. My contractors are missing deadlines daily, and it's been very frustrating. The schools are looking for places to have their varsity sports practicing. They've had to find other resources to manage that because my courts are not open yet. I would say as of today, we're probably about 92% complete. I'm hoping by next week I can get those courts open to play. They still won't be fully completed, but I'm hoping that I can get the teams on there to use them, the courts themselves and the public on there to use them sometime next week. But they're doing things a little out of sorts. They had the courts painted, and then today they came in and caulked on top of the paint. The caulk takes 48 hours to dry. Then they got to repaint it on top of the caulk.
All right, so they look pretty done.
They look pretty done from the street. So from afar they look good, but they're far from good if you get up close. Yeah. So.
What were all the delays? Was it their fault or weather or?
Their fault. Yeah.
They'll have the construction. I think it's from the tennis court construction. Some of their equipment is on the skate park. Someone had asked me about that, when that will be moved or if they're doing something to the skate park.
As soon as the tennis court construction is done, then it'll be off the skate park. But that's the state area and how they get up to the tennis court.
Right.
So it's been closed mid-May as well.
Okay. So what are the restrictions on the skate park after it's opened? Are there some?
The skate park is basically, we say that that's a playground. It's a playground area. So it will have the same sort of restrictions that a playground does.
Okay.
Memorial Field has seen some renovations right now too. We had about $150,000 budgeted to renovate the baseball soccer field at Memorial Field. We put that project out for bid in the spring, and it came back pretty high over budget. That was during the middle of our budget season and right at the beginning of this COVID stuff. And so we made the decision, since it was over budget anyways, to not complete that project in full by using contractor resources. We are picking away at that project internally with the help of some contractors for some things, but likely will be scaled back from the full-scale renovation that we originally anticipated. We were going to strip all the dirt, all the grass, yank out all the old irrigation, install new irrigation, level it, put new grass in. As of right now, we're living with the grass that we have. We did redo the irrigation. We've sodded over the top of that irrigation repairs. We've made the infield smaller. Over the years, the infields naturally just get wider as you drag them. So we brought the outfield closer into the infield to get it back to a size that is appropriate for the age groups that are playing up there. And then we'll do some more. All that work is done now. So we're just getting that sod growing in. As soon as that gets growing in, then we can let soccer start playing on it again. They are getting ready to start practicing soccer now. They still can't play games, but in the meantime, we're letting them practice the soccer on the southern end of Memorial Field, down on the softball field. They can practice down there. By the time they're ready for games, all that renovation work should be at a point where the grass is grown in enough and healthy enough that we can open that up and let them get on there and play games. That's the big ticket items in parks right now. So if anybody has any park questions, if not, I'll jump over towards the recreation side. All right, recreation side. We also, COVID here, rec complex closed March 14th and didn't reopen until June 17th. During that time, we were fortunate enough that the city's financials were healthy enough that we didn't have to furlough or let go any full-time staff, which was something that many cities had to experience, unfortunately. We did have to furlough our part-time staff. They got paid for several weeks at the end of March, but eventually we did put them on a furlough status into June when we reopened the facility. So that was not great for them, but with the facility completely closed, we just couldn't continue to have tons of staff in here. I didn't have enough work for them to do. Full-time staff, we did as much renovation work inside the facility as we could. And obviously we had a lot of COVID things that we needed to take care of. We installed sneeze guard barriers around all the desks, signages, put up 6-foot, stand here markings, moved a lot of the fitness equipment out of the fitness center into the gymnasium, because the guidelines didn't allow the cardio to be as tightly, as compact as it normally is. So we had to move a lot of that stuff around. Got all that done, was able to reopen. The fitness center numbers are fairly low. We had looked into trying to figure out ways that people could sign up on what times they wanted to come so we wouldn't be overcrowded and all that kind of stuff. That has not happened. We didn't need to. People are self-regulating when they come. I would say on average, there's probably no more than 10 people in the fitness center at a time. That's even during pretty high use times. I walked in there just a few minutes ago before this started, and there was probably 5 or 6 people in there working out. So fitness center numbers very low. Gymnasium numbers have been very low because we have a lot of fitness equipment in there, and a lot of the activities that happen in the gymnasium are still not fully allowed via the other. Sorry, I just got an email from one of the other members on the commission here. not allowed according to the county regulations. So that's been low. Room rentals, again, can't have a whole lot of room rentals because of the county regulations, how many people we can have in there. So that's off. Ice rink has been doing very well in this time period. We do have a lot of rentals going on. It's a bigger space, so more people can get in there at one time. The regulations have relaxed a little bit on ice rink usages and level of activity. Figure skating, for instance, is on a lower level of activity, so it can have more people than hockey may have per se, or basketball. So we are seeing some usages across the facility, but overall our usage is certainly down. Revenue, therefore, is certainly down. We're not having very many programs right now, so revenue is taking a hit. But we so far are weathering the storm pretty well as I think that can be expected in these crazy times that we're having. One of the things that helped us on that with our facility and our revenue and expenses this year was the pool issue. I took recommendations to council to not open the pool this year. That was a very tough recommendation for me as a father of a 11-year-old who is a pool rat, as kind of a pool rat myself, knowing that there's other families in Webster that want to be at the pool, need to be at the pool, need a place to go, to take a recommendation to council to not open the pool was very hard on my heart. My head was not so hard, but my heart, it was very hard for. Council made a hard decision. They looked at it for a couple different council meetings. They made a very tough decision to not open the pool. Throughout this summer, that has totally played out to be the right decision. I've talked to all my counterparts at other communities. Normally, we bring in about $325,000 in revenue a year off the pool. Expenses higher than that, so we lose money every year anyways. I had brought that back down to an estimate of about $200,000 in revenue. Talking to my counterparts in neighboring cities like Maplewood and Shrewsbury and Kirkwood, those folks are bringing in about $50,000 in revenue this year. So it would have been a drastic and dramatic hit to the city's budget to open that facility this summer. In addition, most of those pools that are open are seeing very limited usage. Almost none of them are selling out any of their time blocks for the amount of people that can come in, even on the reduced amount of people that can come in under the guidelines. So terrible summer for that, but ultimately we made the right choice for that, I think. The ice rink, while we were shut down had to be shut down via county for COVID, we were able to shift our annual summer closure forward. Normally we close every summer for the ice rink late July through August to do maintenance and to let the concrete slab underneath the ice settle down. As it freezes every year, that slab grows up and gets a little uneven in spots, which makes the ice surface uneven. So by shutting down, turning off the compressors, turning off the refrigeration plant, it lets the ground underneath the ice actually thaw out so everything drops back down to a level standpoint. We were able to move that up into June and reopened right after the July 4th weekend. Had I known we would have been shut down as long as we were, I'd have moved that even farther forward and closed it down in April. But I didn't think we would be closed as long as we had to be. Nonetheless, we got that closure done earlier so that we didn't have to be closed another 5 weeks after we reopened, which was very welcome news to the skating community that they'd had a place that they could get back onto and start using. Camp Weevagy, Peg asked about that before. We decided to try to do Camp Weevagy this summer. A lot of communities did not do a summer camp. I thought it was important for working parents to have a spot that kids could go to if parents needed to be at work. And Camp Weevagy is usually a pretty fun place to go. My kids have gone too. We made it 6.5 weeks, which is actually longer than I thought we would. But ultimately, we had to cancel the last week and a half of Camp WBG this year. We had 2 children that tested positive in those last 2 weeks, different age groups, not really any mixturing at camp, so unrelated exposures. But we still thought we only had 3 age groups this year. And it was 1 child in the youngest age group and 1 child in the oldest age group. And at that point, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to just have camp for the middle age group while we shut down and we had to quarantine counselors. We recommended that camp participants quarantine because one of their group mates was in there. I did not hear that any other campers other than those original 2 became exposed at camp and caught the virus, which is great. But we did have to cancel it and send refunds back out to all those 40-ish, 50-ish families that are campers that were in the last week and a half. We were pretty steady, about 40 to 50 kids all summer. Normally we were around 100 to 130 kids, so it was definitely less than we had, which was probably good for us to be able to spread out as well as we could. Since it was the summer of canceling, we also canceled community days. We didn't have that, which is usually a huge 10-day event on the rec complex grounds. We had to cancel that this year.
I apologize, Scott. So as I said, I have to drop off now.
Yep.
Apologies to the rest of the commission. Yeah, if we can do 1st or the 3rd, that would be very helpful for me. But obviously, we'll work around what the majority of the commission works for the majority of the commission.
Yep.
So I'll hand it back to you then, Scott. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
So now I'm going to give you some actual good news because all that sounded terrible, right? And I don't like to be a terrible news bad guy. I'm more of a happy-go-lucky type of guy normally.
All right. So before you go to good news,
yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going to ask you about, so you had election people there on the 4th of August or whatever it was?
Yep. Got 2
Right.
elections. Yep.
And so are you going to do that again in November?
We are mandated by the state to allow elections boards to use our facilities. So we had one while we were closed in June, which is actually the council election that happened. And then also the August primaries, and of course for the nationals and states and everything else that'll happen in November will be open as well, yes.
Okay, and do you get compensated for that or not?
No, we do not.
Okay.
No, that's a state mandated law that public facilities like libraries and community centers and schools and things like that have to provide their resources to host those elections.
Okay, all right, so go to good news.
Yeah. So good news. We were anticipating installing a new recreation software this year anyways. So when COVID hit and it shut everything down, hey, we got a lot of time to do that. So we were able to get that fully installed and up and running. We switched to a new software that is called Civic Rec. It's a sister program to Civic Plus, which hosts the city's website. So there is a little bit of interoperability there. Hopefully be a lot more coming as they grow some of those platforms and merge them together a little bit. Our new software has an online component, which is fantastic. It's something we've been looking forward to getting for quite some time. So now anybody can go out and look at our brochure through the software, can sign up and register for programs or classes right through the software. Facility rentals, you can put in your rental request for a pavilion or for a room or something like that right through the software. Everything but memberships right now you can look at and either book it yourself or at least put in a request for those rentals, and then we check to make sure the rental space is available and that you're doing something that have enough room for the amount of people you want, things like that. So far that's been great. That really helped us for like Camp WBG registrations when the facility was closed but camp was opening. We could take registrations online versus people normally would have to come in and register in person or call in. So so far that's been great. The only downside to that is through this software, we have to pass along credit card transaction fees to folks. So if you want to use that platform, the pricing is the same for us, but you get charged an extra 2.75% to use your credit card through that platform. And that's what the platform charges to do that. So most things, that's not a big ticket item, but for some things it could be. You know, if you were going to register for 2 kids for all 8 weeks of summer camp, you know, you'd be looking at a couple $1,000s. So 2.5% on top of that becomes a little bit bigger deal. Now you can always still come into the building and register in person. You can, if you're here and swipe your credit card, you still get that fee, but you know, we always taking cash. Cash is king, and we'll still take checks. And if you do either one of those, then it's just the flat rate of whatever our normal program fees are.
And there's no option to use an e-check through that payment gateway or payment platform?
There is not at this point. We have suggested that. There's something they're looking into. I think they're building that, and when they do it, I think there'll be a much smaller fee, but I think there might still be a fee, like a 0.5 point versus 2 3/4 points or something. So it's something that we hope will get here soon.
Scott, did you say that there's a charge for your credit card now, even if you purchase at the rec center as well in person?
Yep.
Has
Yes,
that always been the case, or is that new with this software?
That is new with this software. The city moved that way up at City Hall almost a year ago, last July. They started passing along those credit card fees with their credit card processing up there for permits or tickets or court costs and things like that. We had not done so here at the rec center because we knew we were changing the software and it was going to happen with that software change. So, so it is new here too. Since we've got the online platform with that new software now, I'm not sure, has anybody gotten a postcard in the last couple of days? Used to be our brochure. Now this time for the first time, and a little bit of cost saving measure and a whole lot of paper measure. We are not going to be mailing paper brochures to every residence in Webster Groves anymore. If you haven't gotten it yet, you should be pretty soon here getting a first time only. You'll get a postcard telling you that we're no longer mailing paper brochures to you, and that gives you all the web addresses that you can go find our brochure on, as well as that new Civic Plus online registration platform. We will have paper copies available at the rec center and at City Hall should anybody want to just pick one up. And if you call in to the rec center, we will happily mail you one, because we know there are still some folks that like paper copies and want to keep one on their desk so that they can thumb through it whenever. We're happy to mail one to you. We're just not going to mail one to 5,000, because I think most people like me go right in the trash on the walk in from the mailbox. So that saves us about probably close to $9,000 a year that's going to save us. So that's a pretty good cost savings that we're happy to keep. Other good news tomorrow, well, good news, bad news. Tomorrow we are interviewing, we're backfilling a position for our assistant rink manager position. Our previous rink manager has retired. She'd been with the city over 20 years. So losing her and that institutional knowledge is not great, but this is by far the best applicant pool that I have ever seen in my 20 years of hiring people. So I really hope I don't screw up the interviews and we get a good person. I don't know if it's COVID. I don't know if it's just the right time of year. I don't know if just because everybody wants to come work here at Webster Groves Parks and Recreation, but it was a really solid applicant pool. There's people that we're not even interviewing that could probably come in and do the job. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait to interview all day tomorrow. Maybe I'm not that excited, but I really do think we'll get a great team member. It's a very vital position for us to work with our skate community or learn to skate, and get in there and help Phil, our ice rink superintendent, manage that facility and operate that facility. So we're looking forward to that. I think that's about all I have to give you right now, but I'm happy to answer questions. I was trying to condense 6 months worth of information into a half hour for you guys, so you don't have to hear me talk all night long. Anybody have questions? All right, since David is gone, I will run the meeting for him. So now that moves to council reports. If Sarah has anything that she would like to share.
Sure. I can just give a quick update about some things that are going on with council right now. And then obviously if there are questions I can help with, I'm happy to take those also. I hope that you're all aware about the development conversations that have been going on with SG Collaborative. There have been some town hall type meetings all online, and they're still taking input, public input on their design ideas on their website. And if you have concerns or questions or have an interest in that area at all, I hope that you take the time to go and look at the SG Collaborative site and give your input and feedback on what they're thinking about doing. It's not something that has been officially, we're not in any official position in terms of approving their designs or anything like that yet. It's still very much in the concept phase. But it's a good time to kind of get involved and share your thoughts and ideas and questions if you have them. A big focus on council right now is also a push for racial equity in our region and in our community. After the March for Change that as a response to the student-led speaking and engagement forum in Blackburn Park a few months ago now, we as a council decided that this should be a high priority for us to look at ways that we could move our community forward a bit in terms of racial justice and equity. So we've been having a series of kind of working group meetings to determine what our path might look like there. And there's a number of things that are starting to kind of kick off in that area. We're looking at some staff training for implicit bias, and it's a more intensive anti-racism training than we've done in the past. And we're looking into options maybe to engage the community in that also, and to maybe offer some new ways for community to get involved in things like that. So be on the lookout for some updates there. And if that's an area that you're interested in, your input is certainly welcome as we kind of figure out what our next steps are. And we have a meeting on Tuesday as our next council meeting. And of course, you're always welcome to join us for a work session or for a meeting. I don't know that there's any big hot topics on this this week's agenda. I know they're going to be talking about, I think property taxes are our public hearing on Tuesday night, so that'll be a fun time. But we meet the first and third Tuesday every month, and we're now meeting completely on Zoom, and you're always welcome to come and watch. And we take public comments up until I think 4 o'clock the day of the meeting. So you're also always welcome to submit comments for the council there. And of course, we remain open and interested in hearing from you at other times too. So those are the kind of big things happening, at least in terms of the time we're spending on things in council right now. But I'm happy to answer questions if I can.
I had one. When you were referring to staff on the implicit bias training, is that staff at City Hall, or is that? So
I think there's still some things being, yes, I mean, it is City Hall and all city staff.
Is that including like police department or fire? Or I'm just curious what staff entails when it comes to city workers.
Yeah, and that's been kind of a big topic of conversation about how that might go, whether, because I think in some cases it's non-uniform staff, but we are hoping to involve at least most, if not all of the uniform staff as well in this initiative. So there's a lot of work being done right now. I don't know if everybody's aware, but our city manager retired during this COVID period also. And so Joanne Jadali, who you might know, is she's our interim city manager now. She has been the director of finance. And so she has a lot of knowledge about the staff in Webster Groves, and she's the one kind of spearheading this to determine what the right program is and then just to make sure that it's kind of workable for everybody with scheduling. And there's as you might imagine, there's a big demand for this kind of training right now. So in lots of communities and lots of organizations. So there's a little bit of that as well, just to try to schedule in a way that makes sense with facilitators.
That's really nice to hear, though. It's very proactive of Webster Groves, and we appreciate that.
You're here.
Is that a city council working group? Have you expanded it beyond the city council?
Sorry, I didn't hear the end of your question. It is a kind of a side working group, but they're public meetings. They're just not at the normal city council times. So we've been meeting kind of sporadically, and they are showing up on the calendar, on the community calendar on the Webster Groves City website, a few days in advance. We don't always know about them super far in advance. So we typically have been meeting like in the afternoons on a Wednesday.
What's the name of the group as it's listed?
I don't think that it has a real name. I think on the calendar it's something called like special working group.
Okay.
But if it's something you're interested
in, folks could come.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say other folks can come, or is it just city?
So folks can come and watch, and there are community members who have been invited by the mayor to be panelists or to be kind of part of that group. There hasn't really been kind of a formal process to it. It's something that's just kind of developing and has just started in the last couple of months. So I think it's gonna spin into other smaller discussions. And so I've been asked to help out with a group that's a very small group at this point that's focusing on maybe finding a new community forum of some kind for us to kind of connect in a city-sponsored way. And so that's a little group that is forming to kind of work on that issue. There's also a group forming to kind of put together some ideas about hosting some community conversations and things via Zoom with North Webster residents and the rest of the community to try to kind of learn from one another. So there's a little happening there, nothing super official yet, but always welcome community to be involved and to share your input. So I'd be happy to share meeting information as those things are happening.
The name of that last one was titled Community Conversations Work Session on the City Council. So that's probably what it's tagged every time.
But it's involved folks from, so Dr. Simpson is involved, and Keita Quinn from school board. We have folks from Webster University typically who are there. And so it's been intended to be kind of a bring in more than just the city into this to talk about, but they're a little bit ahead of us in terms of steps they've taken. So we have a little bit of work to do on our side to get to where they are.
All right. Any other questions for Sarah? If not, we will move on to new business. We have Elizabeth has moved out of town. She was our vice chair. So since she has moved and that position is vacated, we were looking to elect a vice chair. Since we now, David is also asking for a chairperson. I would entertain nominations if anybody wanted to jump in today, or since now we have both of those and chair was not on our agenda, we could push those out for our next meeting so you guys can all think about it, and I can maybe work on a couple of you on the side to get you to nominate yourself. It's really a no-brainer. The vice chair does, their only position is to lead the meetings in the absence of the chair. The chair's really only obligation is really just to lead the meetings, to call the roll call and work its way down the agenda. As you know, you pretty much have to listen to me most of the meetings. So I also do most of the work for you. For the chairperson, I'll send out the agenda, set the meetings, all that good stuff. So there's really not much work. If anybody's capable of running or knows Robert's Rules of Order at all, that's pretty much all it is. If you don't, I'm happy to help as we move along through the meeting. So if anybody's got a burning desire and just wants to jump in and say right now, yeah, I'll be the chairperson or the vice chair, I'll take it. If not, we'll push it off till next time. Push it off.
Scott, this is Peg.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know that I want to address this issue right this minute, but what my question to you is, what can we do as a council to really kind of assist you or help you in some way? Because, you know, I haven't been to very many meetings, but the meetings I've been to, it's really pretty much you just giving us a report about what's been done. So is there anything that we can do to assist you in some way?
That has been historically mostly what this commission has done. I do bring things to the commission, recommendations to take to council for policies and procedures and fee changes and things of that nature. So getting your all's opinion on that. I propose those, whatever those recommendations will be typically. Although you guys can bring those up yourselves as well. If you have something that you think I'm just doing terribly at, please tell me, bring up that policy, whatever, and we can take a look at that. Normally, then you guys would vote on those fees or policy changes and make a recommendation to council. I would then take those to a council work session meeting, and council ultimately makes those type of votes and ultimate decisions. We have also in the past had parks ownerships, so individual commission members have taken the park that they go to the most, or the couple parks that they go to the most, and basically are just extra sets of eyes for me. I think my staff does a pretty good job of maintaining our parks, but there's always things that get missed just in the, you know, they don't see because they don't use the park the same way that a user uses it, or they're not in that particular area of the park that often. So if there's things that, you know, a trash can that keeps getting missed, or a bee's nest underneath this piece of playground equipment or whatever, being an extra set of eyes and ears for me and emailing me that or texting me that when you see that kind of stuff, then I can pass it along to my staff to get those things fixed up real quick.
I actually had heard of one. Somebody got stung really bad in the middle of Blackburn parking lot, the northern parking lot last week. I guess like 12 wasp stings.
Yeah, it sounded awful. They said they stepped on it, so it's somewhere on the ground.
Yeah, I think there's
terrible.
An island. If there's an island in that parking lot, so the kids stepped on it, and the mom kind of had to like rip her clothes off and kill all the wasps. And
yeah,
that's terrible.
Sad.
So, did you hear about that, Scott?
Outside, but just say if you're looking for things like that to fix.
Those are the exact type of things I'm looking for. I had not heard about that. Didn't mean my staff didn't, but I didn't personally. So those types of things are very well needed. In a couple years, we're going to have a fairly big drive. If everything stays in the budgets in there now, we'll be looking to renovate the pool in a couple years. Before we do that, there'll be a bond issue that will need to be passed to fund that renovation of that pool. When we get to that point, the last time we did a major bond issue was actually build the recreation complex. The Recreation Commission itself can't be a political entity that goes out and raises that, but oftentimes those folks that are in the know, like yourself, would be a group of folks that could set up a little side nonprofit and would help push that bond issue or get notifications out about that bond issue, talk to your neighbors about that bond issue, assuming you think it's a good bond issue to put out. But that's still a couple of years down the road. I think we're tagged at 2024 for that bond issue is what we're kind of looking at. So we're still, 3 or 4 years on the road, but that, planning on that will start probably another 2 years heavy. Other than that, I'm always looking for new things. If folks want stuff or want me to do more stuff, but Peg, this commission has typically not. I know you were on green space for many years, and green space
Does a lot, right?
does a lot. They're out doing honeysuckle sweeps and things of that nature. This commission has historically has not been as much boots on the ground as green space was, but certainly there are opportunities if there are folks that want to do stuff like that to be involved. But it really is your commission. This commission mandated in the city charter to happen as a Parks and Recreation Commission, but I'm just a liaison. Sarah's just a liaison. It's you as residents. You own this commission, so it's what you guys want to do with it.
Okay, so what happened to the park renovation plan that didn't pass the last time it was up for a vote? Is that just on a back burner, or people still thinking about renovating the Memorial Field, the 40 acres?
Oh, the whole 40 acres plan.
Yeah.
That plan, the school district partly funded that. The city partly funded that plan. We jointly put it together. We had a lot of big wishes in there. I don't think you'll ever see that plan come to fruition as it was drawn at one time. That was a 20-year, basically that was a master plan. So those master plans, I typically look at a master plan as being a 10 to 20-year type of plan. So there are several things in that plan that we've already picked at and started doing. The $1 million tennis court renovation we're doing right now was in there.
Right.
Parking lot renovation was in there. Since we've done that, the school has changed directions a little bit and is, adding on a whole new wing to Hickson. So that would change some of those plans. So both the school district and the city, I think, are picking at that plan and doing projects in that plan. But I don't think I could say with confidence that the drawing that was in that plan you'll ever see on Google Images at the end of the day.
Okay, so, in that plan, there was like the seating in the hillside and the path around the park. And so is there any way that any of that's going to happen, or?
All things that we're still picking at. That hillside seating came in at almost $1 million. Probably not.
Not going to happen.
Probably not going to give me $1 million to put in a whole bunch of hillside seating up there. Things could change. A casino, we could have a river come through Webster and get a casino at some point. It all comes from casino money, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. Pathways and trails, I think that's something that I would like to see. Enhanced sidewalks, enhanced pathways. I think that's something the school would like to see, especially as they get the new wing built and double the amount of students that are going to be up there. So things like that are things that we're still picking at. It's just getting that in our capital improvement budget and planning for those, 5 years out. That's when our CIP budget starts. It's rolling 5 years. Putting things in there as we can with the funds that we have and picking off those things, I think we'll do. If people think that there are higher priority things, then certainly I'm available to listen to those.
Right. So I guess my question about all of that in the end is there a way that we can help move forward any of those things as a commission?
Dig me a river and build me a casino.
Listen, there's almost a river in, back there in that, retention pond, whatever that is.
Talk to your neighbors and friends and tell me what you think is the most important things. I'm here to serve you guys. I obviously have ideas about projects that I think have priority lists, but if I hear from, 10,000 residents that I need this first, then that'll be the first thing that we start trying to accomplish with the funds that we have. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. And then just on the last note, I live right behind the rec center. My property backs up to it. And my neighbors, whose property also backs up to it, were really pleased with the way that you redid the parking lot. I just wanted you to know that.
Happy to hear that. It does look a lot nicer than it did before.
Looks a lot nicer, and you put in the curb things, and kept people from having the water run off into their house, into their backyard. So they were all very happy about that.
Glad to hear that. I'll pass that along to Public Works because they were highly involved in that process as well, because I'm no.
A question.
Yep.
So, and again, I'm not complaining about the pool being closed. It sounds like you made the right decision, but I was just curious, like, normally would we be a part of that recommendation, or is that normal, like you would just do that? I'm just more curiosity as how things work as opposed to criticizing. Just more, how does that happen?
Planned activities would always be something that I would try to bring to you guys first. That obviously was not a planned activity.
Right.
Was a fairly quick process that we had to make. Normally we start filling the pool beginning of April or middle of April.
Right, when everything was coming down, you had to make some.
Right. Everything just blew up on us. So in a situation like that, no, I'm not going to be able to bring stuff to you. Quite frankly, some of those decisions were almost happening faster than I could get information to council even, as far as do we have, I thought that council would probably vote the way they did. Had they gone the other way, I would have really been behind the 8 ball even to get contractors back out to get work done and things like that, because we had already kind of put the brakes on at that point. But yes, if there was something that, if tomorrow I thought that we wouldn't be able to keep the ice rink open in February, that would be something that I would certainly bring to you guys to try to get input.
Just wasn't sure how the whole process worked in the long run. So that makes sense. And just, I don't know if you needed any more details. I found a little more detail about the WASP thing. It
Sure.
says it was housed under a parking spot near the middle of the lot by the tree line.
There's a lot of tree lines.
How is the tree line in the middle? I mean, are there a bunch of trees in the
Yeah,
middle?
I didn't really understand. Just saying what she wrote. Northern parking lot housed underneath a parking spot near the middle of the lot. So maybe it was along the tree line, but in the middle of the length.
The side.
So the northern parking lot would be the Jackson Road parking lot?
Yeah.
So
Probably by that wooden fence.
Yeah.
And it could be,
Sure.
would be something like that. Oh, there was one. So.
I'll have staff go kick around there tomorrow, and hopefully they don't get stung.
yeah.
Exactly.
It may have already been taken care of, but you never know.
So Scott, one more question. Did you, is there any kind of damage that will be done to the pool as a result of not opening it?
No, I don't think so. We have been bumping the motors, which means just periodically turning the motor on for 1 second just to get it to move so that there's no rusting or corrosion from just sitting still. It sits empty 8 months of the year already. So I don't think there'll be any long-term damage. We did add mosquito fish to the pool. There's still water in parts of the pool. And so there's actually a fish called a mosquito fish, and it eats the larvae of the mosquitoes before they actually become mosquitoes. So if you look in the deep end right now, there's probably and they're growing and multiplying. There's probably, we put maybe 40 in there. There's probably 1,000 fish in there right now. They have a fish.
It sounds like
So what do you do with those when you do open the pool?
Get to have a fish fry.
I think before you get rid of those, you need to have a kids program around that. That sounds like a boy's wish come true. My boys would love to see those mosquito fish in action.
Yeah.
It's only about yay big, and the water's pretty green, so it's a little tough to see it. I thought it was interesting, and it's better than putting chlorine tablets in there all summer long. And county wanted us to control the population somehow, and obviously I work here, so I don't want to get bitten 40 times every time I walk in and out of my car. So pretty good solution. So no real damage. That pool's struggling and on its last legs anyway, so it might have actually helped to not have a year of usage. I don't know. We've been able to do some maintenance in there that we normally wouldn't be able to do. But no.
Okay, so you said that the planning, the design, I don't know, the schedule is for a new pool to kind of be put in place by 2024? So is there something that we can be doing? Is there some kind of planning that goes into that we can be involved in, or?
You will. There'll be a whole series of planning. We're just not there yet. So we'll get a grant to do a master plan first in 1 year, and then we'll turn around the second year and do a full planning session, construction documents. We'll have those construction documents in hand and ready to go. So we've got cost estimates so that we can take that out to the community, to provide that information to the community to say, hey, we'd like you guys to fund, $4 to $6 million worth of a new pool on a no tax increase bond, and here's what you'll get for that
Okay.
money, whatever that money.
Any thought to having it be partly inside? Or is it too soon to think about that?
Probably not, but undecided at this point.
Okay. All right.
If 10,000 residents said they wanted an indoor pool, then that would be something that we would look for. But we're going to have to find some operating expenses to run a pool for 12 months out of the year. So, which would be a pretty hefty operating expense.
Might be a moneymaker.
Might be a moneymaker.
It will not be a moneymaker.
Oh, it won't be. All right.
There's not
So
a pool.
You could have like swim lessons there year round, and I mean that's what a lot of places.
There's not a single pool in St. Louis County that makes money.
Yeah.
Everyone. You might break even if you're really good and really lucky, and the community really supports it. But no, it would be a service. Which
so
is fine.
that was one of the things that was on I thought that was one of the things that was on the bond issue the last time the pool got built, was that part of it would be inside. And then all of a sudden it got changed, because you weren't here then. But
that's way before my time. I'm not aware of that. But I know there were some cuts done when they built the rec complex, but I have never heard that it was to be a partial indoor pool as well.
Okay. All right.
You even make money with
I mean, the Webster High School water sports teams probably paid Webster University to use that pool, right?
Right.
There's no AAU teams that would pay to use it.
They would, but we still wouldn't make money on it.
Still wouldn't make money.
No, I mean, I would say that rental for like a water polo team for one semester would be in the neighborhood of $3,000 or $4,000. So that's not, that hardly pays for the lifeguard to sit there for those hours that the people are there.
Okay. All right.
All right. So since we're pushing the elections to the next business meeting, we have no other items on the agenda. The next meeting currently is set for October 22nd, which is the fourth Thursday in October. As some of you heard right at the beginning before we really started, the school district has changed their meetings to the fourth Thursday of the month also. So I will probably send out a doodle poll to everybody to find out if there is a better night, since we'll lose David and the school board for that, which is a part of the city's charter mandates that we have someone from the school on the commission. So we'll look to see if we can find another night that is conducive for everybody to meet.
So can we just ask right now if there's anybody that, can we just ask right now if there's another night that would be?
Well, David's not here and we have one other person that's missing.
Oh,
so
okay.
it'd be easy to send out a poll that everybody could put on.
Okay.
I think
Got it.
those polls are pretty easy. So I'll
it'll
send that.
definitely be
October, right?
We do meet every other month. Yes.
And you're currently seeking a new member? Or
We have, Elizabeth just moved out of town, so we have one opening right now.
I have one more quick question. When you talked about redoing the pool in a couple of years, do you think that little playground, somebody asked me about that playground near there, if they're gonna update that playground as well?
The playground outside the pool up by the tennis courts? Yes.
Yeah, or I don't know. I haven't seen much of the construction other from the street. I couldn't really tell if they'd redone that as well when they did the tennis courts.
That one is scheduled for replacement, not with the pool, just out on its own. In fiscal year 22, which starts June July of 2021.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say, excuse my tardiness. I apologize to you guys for that. It was a case of racing home to get to my computer because my phone died. You know how that goes. But I do want to say hello to everyone, and I'm glad we're back on meetings. And Sarah, congratulations on your election to council. So that's all. I did want to say that I think the tennis court looks like it's proceeding very well. Scott, did you guys talk about that before I got on, or what's your take on that right now?
We did. It's plus 50 days overdue, and I'm not sure when it's going to actually be done, but I'm super frustrated that it's not already done. But it does look great on the street, and it will be done soon.
It does look good.
So
They have contracting penalties for being so late? Good, okay.
and we've got out of them on the side too, but it's still doesn't make up for being as late as they are.
It doesn't, but I just hate to be paying for something that they guaranteed one way and turned another. So
It's $500 per day that they're late.
okay.
That's a lot. Or over $20,000. So.
All right,
Okay.
good.
All right. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you for doing the Zoom.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
I know.